Hello and welcome back to another live stream here on High Altitude Investing. Today is the 10th of May. And yeah, let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Bitcoin here and talk a little bit about where I think Bitcoin is going to go. We've had a nice rally here on Bitcoin and also the rest of the market. I mean, even altcoins are taking off. Ethereum went up like 20% in a single day. We have a lot of exciting stuff going on in the crypto markets today, and I'm super excited to be doing a live stream. So yeah, we'll just get started here. Welcome everybody. Hey, Professor K. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin pushed right up through this massive area of resistance right here. So if we take our rectangle tool, support and resistance is a zone. So it's actually the most useful to use this rectangle tool instead of single lines, because you can get a better kind of grasp on that zone that you're looking at instead of just a single price point, right? So we can see this huge horizontal area of resistance right here that we pushed right up through, no problem. At first I thought we might reject at this resistance, but we didn't. We broke right up through and went all the way up to the next area of resistance. And that next area of resistance, that zone is up here between 109,000 and basically 102,000. So this area right here is our next major zone of resistance, which we are coming right up to right now. And we actually have a green candle here on the daily. So if we do push up through 104,000, we might start breaking through this next zone of resistance, which would be extremely bullish for Bitcoin and really would signal a lot more upside coming in this market. I've already been bullish on Bitcoin in the bigger picture up to 250,000 per coin for quite some time now. But this would really signal that we are ready for that next leg up and that we are going to go for a lot higher even in the near future. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here in terms of resistance and support here on Bitcoin. Let's take that off and take a little bit of a look at what's going on here on the weekly time frame. Let's pull up our weekly time frame. Here we go. And if you look at Bitcoin here on the weekly, first of all, the first thing that everybody should be aware of is the higher high, higher low pattern here on Bitcoin. So basically, since Bitcoin's inception, it's been in an uptrend. Of course, it's had bear markets, it's had corrections, but overall, Bitcoin is in a massive uptrend. In fact, you can see the entire historical data if you go to the BLX chart. So it's the Bitcoin liquid index, or the, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, we got to go to the daily. Yeah, the BLX chart, the Bitcoin Liquid Index. It used to be called like the Brave Liquid Index. I think they changed their name. Anyways, if you go on to the BLX chart and you go to the logarithmic chart here, this gives you all of the historical data. Now, you definitely don't want to do volume analysis here on BLX, the BLX ticker for Bitcoin, because it's pulling from multiple exchanges. It's an index of price, and it really doesn't have accurate volume in terms of recent volume here on Bitcoin. Like if you look on Coinbase, you get way more accurate volume. So only do price analysis over here and only do big picture analysis. But if you go to tradingview.com and you type in BLX, you get a really clear picture of what Bitcoin looks like over the long term. And you can see Bitcoin is in a massive uptrend. So that's the very first thing you should understand about Bitcoin. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people don't understand one of the most basic fundamental principles of trading and investing, and that is the simple truth that the trend is your friend. So if something's in an uptrend, and it's making higher highs and higher lows, it's likely going to continue to do that. And with Bitcoin, that's exactly what we see. We see higher high, higher low pattern. Even zoomed out here all the way, this goes all the way back to 2011. You're talking about when Bitcoin was worth a penny down here, 1 penny per coin. Then it went all the way up to $36 right here. Then it came all the way back down to $2.04. Then it went all the way up to $1,000, just a little over, like $1,100. Then it came back down to $180. This is where I first got my first Bitcoin, was around $180 on Coinbase in 2015. Then it went all the way up to $20,000 per coin. Then it came back down to $3,000 per coin. And then it went all the way up to $69,000 per coin, came back down to $16,000. So you can see that even though it's had some pretty big pullbacks, some pretty big bear markets, like this was a 93% correction from $32 down to $2. 93% drawdown. But it's in an uptrend, and the trend is your friend. And just understanding that is so powerful, because it reminds you that every time that people say the sky is falling, crypto's done for, crypto's dead, Bitcoin's dead, altcoins are dead. If you just understand the trend of blockchain technology, Bitcoin being the first one to truly succeed, and the first one ever that can be termed blockchain, honestly, because there was other digital monies before that, but they weren't even blockchain. Bitcoin is in an uptrend, and a lot of altcoins are too. And just understanding that helps you know that when people are afraid, when people say it's going to go lower, and when people are saying the sky is falling and it's a massive drop is coming in the market, or even it's never going to recover again, you can confidently say that's unlikely. And I'm not saying there won't be bear markets. There's always been bear markets on Bitcoin, but they've been very short-lived. 1 year on average in length. But I am saying that we're overall in a massive uptrend. So just understanding that about Bitcoin is one of the very first things that you should understand about this market, because it's going to make you way more level-headed and way more profitable. The problem most people have is they lose grasp on their emotions and they start to get irrational. That's a problem most people have. And if you just understand the fact that the trend is your friend, it really helps you overcome that irrational behavior. So it's super powerful just to understand that one thing about the markets, and that's the first thing that you should understand about Bitcoin. The trend is your friend. So with that being said, I believe this trend is going to continue higher. We're going to keep breaking out. We're going to keep having more legs up in the market. We have a leg up right here. We had a leg up right here. We had a leg up right here. A leg up right here. Every time Bitcoin has a correction, we have another leg up. Now, the size of that correction or that bear market is different every single time. There are some averages, like most corrections on Bitcoin are about 30%, and most bear markets are around 80%. But all of those corrections are bought back up and price continues to go higher. So seriously, just understanding that one thing will make you a better investor and a better trader. And I know what all of you guys are thinking. You're thinking, well, yeah, cool, the trend is your friend until it isn't. How do you know that this isn't the top up here? Or that Bitcoin isn't just going to go just a little bit higher and then never recover again and die and never come back? And that's not the right kind of psychology to have in the market. Because most of the time, these markets are going to go a lot higher than you personally think they are. So you have to kind of silence that voice of doubt, of skepticism, and of cynical thinking, and start thinking in terms of, okay, what have we seen over the long term for this technology as a whole? And for the long term, we've seen growth, we've seen development, we've seen steady adoption. And no, it's not being adopted overnight, and no good technology ever was adopted overnight. But it is steadily growing, and it is steadily being adopted. And with all the big institutions putting money into it over the past, especially since 2018, this has all been big institutions. That's why there's so much volume here in comparison to what there was before with crypto. That has to tell you something. It has to open your eyes to something, that maybe this technology is here to stay. Maybe blockchain technology is not going anywhere, and it is going to be something that everybody uses every day. Something people become familiar with. The general public, not just big institutions, not just tech nerds, not just people that are maybe libertarian in their beliefs, not just people that are just believe in the technology, but people that are forced to use it because it's being adopted at such a quick rate that even the general public is using it. And that's what I see coming for this market. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you guys tuning in. Joe W. Hello, Dallin. Exciting times. Yes, I agree. 100%. High-tech redneck. What is up, my friend, my fellow brother? He says, woo, ready for takeoff, Captain Dallin. Yeah, I am too, man. It's a good day to be alive. Matt Otzi, you'll have to tell me how to pronounce your name because you tune in a lot, and I don't want to get your last name wrong, so you should tell me how to pronounce that. Weekend stream, Telcoin is sending. Yeah, we'll check out Telcoin in just a minute. I would love to do a little Telcoin analysis for you guys on this beautiful Saturday morning. Professor K. Dallin, do you think silver is worth investing into next? By the way, please play us a tune when you end. I didn't bring my guitar today. I should have brought my guitar, it sounds like. So I can't today. I'm at my studio right now. My guitar's at my house. Otherwise, I totally would bring or play you guys a song, but I didn't bring my guitar, so. Cool. Yeah, let's do a little silver analysis, and we can do some Telcoin analysis as well. Silver. Let's go to the monthly. You guys already know the drill. Especially with stocks. I mean, I'm in bigger time frames than most people are with crypto as well. But especially with the stock market and with commodity markets like silver, gold, you have to go out to those bigger time frames if you really want to capitalize on the tools that you have at your disposal as a technical analyst, because these bigger time frames are the ones that are going to give you the most data, and they're going to be the most meaningful to do analysis on. And especially this is true with stuff like silver and with gold or even stocks, because you're talking about crypto having smaller cycles. Crypto moves faster. So even though with crypto I am using the monthly time frame pretty frequently, I use it even more with silver. And I might use the weekly or the 15-day or the 7 or the 8-day, 9-day time frame more with crypto. But I do use the monthly with crypto as well. But crypto moves on faster time scales than the stock market does, and then silver does, or gold. So it's kind of more helpful to use those smaller, not like crazy small, I barely ever use like the 15-minute with crypto. I'll check the 45-minute sometimes, I'll use the 4-hour, the 1 hour fairly frequently. But the 1 day, the 3 day, the 1 week, the 15-day, those time frames I'm using a lot on the crypto markets when I'm doing my analysis. And with silver, with gold, with stocks, I'm using the monthly very frequently, even sometimes the 3-month or the 2-month big time frames. Do I believe silver is good to invest in? Yes. I don't have to, there's nothing else to be said. I'm going to do analysis on it. But as far as your question goes, yes, I do believe silver is a very, very good investment. And in fact, one of the best investments that you could be making right now with your money. Now, I'm not talking about getting 50,000% gains. Like if you buy the right crypto, you might make 500x or something, just some meme coin or whatever. You might make 20,000% or even 2,000%, right? 20x with crypto. But with silver, you're going to make a very large return on your investment in terms of the commodities markets. You're gonna make a bigger percentage on silver than you would with gold. And you're going to make a very, very big percentage gain in terms of commodities markets. This isn't crypto gains where you're going to make insane, ridiculous gains sometimes, but it is extremely worth your money to be putting money into silver. So you're not just all in on crypto, And silver has a massive cup and handle. You can see this massive cup and handle here on the 3-month time frame. That's extremely bullish. This is like basically what this is telling me personally is that we are going to break above our previous old all-time highs. Our old all-time high in the 1980s over here, and our old all-time high in 2011 over here. This cup and handle tells me we are going to break above that level, and we will see a lot of upside here and another parabolic run, just like what we saw in 1980 and just like what we saw basically from 2003 until 2011 on silver. So we are going to have another one of those moves for this market. I firmly believe that based on this pattern, based on the fact that gold is already leading the commodities markets. We've already seen a breakout above its old all-time high on gold. So I firmly believe silver will follow shortly behind and will break above its old all-time high. And I personally think we could get as high as $100 per ounce very easily. It could even go higher than that. It could go $200 per ounce out of that cup and handle. It could go pretty dang high. Now, that's not 20 times your money. That's only 500% or 600% or 1,000% if it really takes off. But I don't want to say it is guaranteed, but I will say it's basically guaranteed for that to happen. It's extremely, extremely likely that we get that type of a move with silver over the long term and in the bigger time frame. So that's what I see for silver. I do believe it to be a very, very good investment and one that is worth putting money in, even if it's just to diversify, even if it's because you have all your money in crypto and you think, I've got an extra $20,000 or whatever to put into something. Maybe you put some of it in silver and then buy more of your favorite cryptos as well. Right? So anyways, that's my view on silver, Professor K. Okay, let's do Telcoin as requested by our friend Matt. Let's pull up Telcoin here. My light's about to fall down on me. There we go. It's a good day to be alive, you guys. Good day to be a crypto investor, isn't it? So yeah, I love Telcoin. One of my favorite setups here in the bigger picture. A lot of people are scared to buy stuff like this. They see a big correction and they just don't understand what a market cycle is. and they think, oh, it must be impossible for something like that to recover. But it's not true. Stuff has massive pumps and massive pullbacks all the time, and then it recovers, and then you see a huge return on your investment, and it becomes extremely lucrative for the fact that you bought the dip. Let's compare, even just if we're not talking about crypto, a really good example that I like to use in a lot of my live streams is the internet bubble. People forget that the internet had a bubble. Well, people generally don't forget it unless they just weren't alive, unless you guys are like really young or something. But people never talk about the fact that the internet bubble recovered after it happened, right? So here's the internet bubble on the right, and here's Telcoin over here on the left. And honestly, this is the same thing. A lot of times you won't get quite as big of a double bottom as we see over here on the internet bubble, but we did get it down here on Telcoin. We still had a double bottom, and that's really the same human psychology that happened during the internet bubble over here, that happened during the 2021 crypto bubble, if you want to call it, where people got too excited and then FTX happened and then the markets fell 90% and then everybody gave up on it again. But people that have their head on straight did not give up on it. Big institutions put billions of dollars into crypto, especially after the drop happened. So they're clearly interested in crypto and they're clearly anticipating some type of a recovery, and I am too. I'm anticipating a recovery in the crypto markets and a big kind of growth and even an adoption cycle that could be the mass adoption cycle for crypto, because that's what happened after the internet bubble crash. This was just the excitement of the internet here in the early 90s, or not early 90s, my bad, the late 90s and the early 2000s. That was just the excitement of the internet. But the internet wasn't really adopted until after that happened. Then it got adopted, and you can see the positive impact that that had on the economy because the internet got adopted as a technology and used by everyday people, right? And I kind of foresee a similar thing coming for crypto. We had a crypto bubble pop, and now I personally believe we are headed into that mass adoption where it's actually adopted. It's not just something people are excited about, but it's something people are both excited about and they're actually using. It's being adopted by the public, and that's what I foresee for Telcoin, is some type of an adoption cycle coming for this coin. And let's go ahead and compare it to Ethereum as well real quick for you, because that's actually kind of how we queued into buying Telcoin down here on my channel. I made a video about Telcoin down here, and then it pumped off those lows. And the reason that I did that video was because it reminded me of Ethereum over here on the right. Back in the last, well, I guess technically you would call it 2 cycles ago, we had a very similar structure for Ethereum over here, and we'll pull up the chart. You can see the same kind of cycle that happened over here on the right with Ethereum happened over here on the left with Telcoin. And this move right here where Ethereum kind of corrected before it really started to take off could be exactly where we're at right now in the Telcoin cycle. Is that same point over here on Ethereum, over here on Telcoin. So big things could be coming for this coin, like very profitable pumps in this market. So I like this setup a lot for the Telcoin people. All right, cool. Shiba is pumping. Good to know. I haven't looked at the chart in a day or two. Theta. Yeah, let's do some theta analysis. That is, I don't even know why I do live streams if I don't do a theta analysis, because people love theta. I love theta, and everybody always wants me to do analysis on it because it's so awesome. So let's pull it up here. And again, you can kind of see the similarities in these cycles. Even Telcoin and Theta have the same kind of cycle because, well, the crypto markets follow each other. That's really what it is. You have Bitcoin going up and you have a lot of altcoins sooner or later will start following Bitcoin. But also all of the altcoins have a tendency to follow each other. And so as a result of that, you get these same patterns appearing in all of the markets because they follow each other. Now, with that being said, it's not only the crypto markets that does this, right? That's why we can compare the NASDAQ and the internet bubble to, for example, Telcoin, but we can also compare the NASDAQ and the internet bubble to Theta as well if we wanted to, and it would look like almost the same thing. But we're not going to do that right now. We're actually going to compare Theta to Ethereum because honestly, it's the same thing. To be frankly honest with you guys, it's pretty much the same exact chart in a lot of ways. If we pull up Ethereum over here and we keep Theta over there on the right and we compare these two cycles together, you can't tell me that this isn't the exact same human psychology playing out in the market in Theta right now that we had historically with Ethereum. I don't care who you are. You can't tell me that this isn't the same thing. It's the exact same thing, the same psychology playing out in the market for Theta that we've already seen with Ethereum historically. So what's going to happen, or what I believe is going to happen based on this market cycle for Theta, is a breakout through local resistance, just exactly like what happened to Ethereum right here, where Ethereum broke out above local resistance, and then a parabolic run. Because really the crypto markets as a whole are primed for a large parabolic run. That's what they're set up for. They're set up for a big move, just like what happened in 2021 or even 2017. So with that being said, the chart is really showing us that that's what could happen here with Theta over here on the right, just like what happened with Ethereum historically over here on the left. And it doesn't, just because it hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. If you look at the timing of these cycles, it's very similar in terms of timing as well. You had to have one more kind of correction here with Ethereum, and you also had to have one more correction here with Theta. It's just the nature of these markets to have one more final shakeout where people really have to give up on the market, where average investors flip bearish and they start thinking in terms of, oh, this is going to have a multi-year bear market, or it's going to take a long time for this to recover. That almost always happens before a big run in value, because the market is designed to shake out weak hands and weak investors. So yeah, of course we had one more shakeout in the market, but that doesn't mean we won't have a big pump. That's exactly what happened to Ethereum right before the big pump happened. And by the way, just the fact that Theta is doing a cycle that Ethereum has done previously doesn't make Theta somehow lagging behind Ethereum in any way. That's not the way you should look at this. The way you should look at this is that the same human psychology appears in all markets and all time frames over and over again. It's not like Theta is almost as good as Ethereum. It's just like 4 years behind, and that's why it's doing the same pattern Ethereum did 4 years ago. No, it's just that the human psychology repeats in these markets over and over again because humans get emotional. We get excited and we get fearful. And so the same patterns appear in the market over and over again, whether it's the stock market, whether it's crypto, whether it's silver. I mean, it doesn't matter what market you're looking at, you're going to find human psychology repeating in the market over and over again. To be honest with you, I like Theta more than Ethereum, but people will maybe hate me for saying that, but I don't really care. And I mean, take a look at this, right? We have silver. We were just talking about silver. Silver over here on the right and Ethereum over here on the left. So no, it doesn't make any market better or worse the fact that one is doing the same pattern as another market did. It's just on a different time frame, happening at a different time. It just means that human psychology repeats over and over again because humans are emotional, biological creatures by nature. So we get emotional about stuff and we get too excited and too fearful, and that creates these same patterns in the market over and over again. That's why silver looks exactly like Ethereum. It's because of human psychology that happens, right? So yeah, I'm super bullish on Theta. Big things are coming for that coin. I think people are going to be blown away just how hard it pumps. I think it's going to do a move very similar to what happened over here on Ethereum in 2021, and a lot of people will be printing a lot of profit in their portfolios, and it'll be super cool and super fun. Dallin looking like he's going to be right for the third time, folks. Money machine go burr. Yeah, the money machine does go burr. That is very true. It just prints money like crazy all day long, and there's no way to stop it. Why? Because once the ball gets rolling, it's like a snowball effect. They can't save the economy any other way, and it doesn't truly save the economy, but it at least stimulates it, so they have to keep doing it. Otherwise, they're going to crash the entire economy. And yeah, at some point, it'll probably be unsustainable, and it will have to have some type of a correction, and even printing money won't do anything because the value of the dollar will, just like how the markets are going parabolic up, the value of the dollar, if we keep doing what we're doing, is going to go parabolic down. And that's not good, right? That means that it will not stimulate the economy anymore if they keep printing money. But for now, the economic conditions are perfect for people that are investors because they're able to make a stupid amount of money buying pretty much anything. It could be stocks, it could be crypto, it could be silver, it could be gold, because the value of all of these things are going up because nobody wants to hold the dollar. You know, nobody wants to put all their money in the dollar when it's just getting printed and hyperinflated like crazy. So, yeah. We did a Theta, we did Telcoin. Let's go Shiba. Shiba ranked 14 now. Okay, let's check out Shiba. I haven't looked at it in a few days, and apparently everybody in the chat is talking about it. And I did make a video about it not too long ago. So yeah, this is looking good. This is following kind of what I was looking at for Shiba. A reversal up off these lows. I had it drawn on the chart already. I made a video about Shiba, but apparently there isn't a very big community around Shiba, at least on YouTube, that I haven't been able to tap into it yet. But yeah, we did have a nice move up off of these lows, and we're worth, man, the thing with Shiba Inu is if you're valuing it versus the dollar, you have to really count your zeros. We're worth 0.000016 per Shiba right now, and we're starting to move up off of the lows. And I think we're going to see a move that could be quite vertical, like what we saw with Ethereum. We do have an ABC correction here, wave A, wave B, and wave C. So what I think is going to happen based on this full cycle, so we had a parabolic run up here, we came down for depression, We went up for the disbelief phase, and now we came back down for that final double bottom that happens a lot before a new cycle starts. We will see a move up. That's what I personally believe is going to happen based on this ABC correction and this complete market cycle that we can see here on the 15-day time frame when we're zoomed out a little bit here, right? So we could break out pretty vertical here. If we get up to resistance here, it's possible for us to pull back, but overall, I think our trend is going to be up from here, and I think we're going to see another exciting kind of move for Shiba Inu, similar to what we saw in 2021, all over again. And honestly, this looks a lot like Bitcoin did back in 2015, or not 2015, 2018. So let's pull up the Bitcoin chart on Coinbase. Will work perfectly fine for this. And we'll drop to the 15-day, so we're on the same time scales here. And we'll stretch our chart out a little bit here. And we'll take a look at our cycle. So here's our Bitcoin cycle on the right, and here's our Shiba cycle over here on the left. And you can see what I mean by similarities, right? Parabolic run on Bitcoin, full retracement all the way back down. Then you get a pump again, right? Another pump right here. And then a full retracement all the way back down again. And then you really break out for a new cycle. And if you look at Shiba Inu, parabolic run right here. A full retracement again right here. And then another little parabolic run right here. And a full retracement again right here. So it's really the same kind of market cycle that we see over here on Shiba that we saw back in 2018 and 2019 and 2020 on Bitcoin. So I think we will get a parabolic breakout all over again, just like what we saw in 2021. And it will be very profitable for the people that are holding this coin. Also, just so you guys know, again, these market cycles repeat. Let's pull up, for example, we'll pull up the IXIC right here again. And we'll keep Bitcoin over here on the right. Now, the reason that Shiba Inu did a big double bottom like that is because that's the psychology of markets. That's often what they do after a big parabolic run. You can see here with the NASDAQ on the left and Bitcoin over here on the right. I mean, look at that. Here's a parabolic run and a correction, also known as the internet bubble. And then here is a double bottom that happened before our next parabolic run in the stock market. And if you look at Bitcoin, it really did the exact same thing as the NASDAQ during the internet bubble. It's the same exact thing. I mean, look at that parabolic run and correction. And then look at this double bottom right here. And then the market recovered just exactly like how the NASDAQ did. This psychology is perfect. It's identical in every single way. So it's no surprise to me that Shiba Inu did a double bottom after it had a parabolic run, because that's historically what we've seen in market cycles. That's what we see. You can see that there's the same structure over here on Shiba Inu that happened on the NASDAQ during the internet bubble, and then the subsequent double bottom that happened right after, right? So just understand that's the nature of markets. A lot of times they'll do a big double bottom like this. Now, just so you know, this doesn't happen every time. The double bottom isn't as pronounced as it was on Bitcoin or even over here on the NASDAQ. If you look at Ethereum, for example, back in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, you can still see that Ethereum did do a double bottom down here, but the double bottom was not nearly as pronounced. You can see that's not nearly as pronounced. It did one, but it wasn't like this, it wasn't nearly as pronounced as the double bottom on the NASDAQ. So sometimes you won't get as big of a double bottom after those big market cycles like that, right? But if you draw a market cycle, you get a pump, then you get a pullback in the market, and most of the time you get a double bottom. It depends on how pronounced that double bottom is, but most of the time you do get a double bottom, and then you go for a parabolic run all over again. So it can look like this, or if it's not as pronounced, if the double bottom isn't as pronounced, it'll look something more like this. And then it will go for a parabolic run. So it's not always going to give you that clear, pronounced double bottom. Like even silver didn't have as much of a pronounced double bottom as the NASDAQ, right? It's still there. You can still see a little double bottom down here, but it's not as pronounced. You basically just start the bull market off of those lows. It's not nearly as pronounced of a double bottom. So a little bit of one, you could call this one right here, I guess, bit of a double bottom. But that's the way the market works. You have these big cycles, and at the bottom of those cycles, most of the time you get either sideways consolidation with a little double bottom or a very pronounced double bottom, and then the market recovers and you go for another run and you go for another parabolic move in the market where the bulls are making a lot of money all over again. And that's what I see starting with crypto right now. A big parabolic run. Hey brother, do you think it is possible silver could go 1-to-1 ratio with gold, or 4-digit silver and 5-digit gold? So a 1-to-1 ratio with gold, probably not. I'd say probably not a 1-to-1 ratio. I'd lean towards no on that because gold is already worth, let's see, what is it now? Like 30, how much an ounce? Let's just check. I don't want to slaughter this. 3,300 per ounce, right? So you'd have to see a very, very, very substantial increase in the value of silver for us to get a 1-to-1 ratio for silver for gold. I guess it's not impossible, but I'd lean towards very unlikely that that happens. Do I think silver could go 4 digits? If we're talking about the super long term, like if you're talking about like, you know, over the next 50 years, maybe it could go 4 digits for silver. If you're talking about like the next 10 to 15 years, I'd probably say no. I'd probably say a lot more likely that we get into the 3-digit range for silver, which we've never been in. The highest we've ever gone is about $49. But I do think we could get to $200-300 pretty easily in the next 15 years, you know, for silver. The thing with silver, if you're trading silver, gold, stocks, you're talking about a lot longer time frames than what we see typically in the crypto markets, right? So that'd be my perspective on that. But I do think we do get a big parabolic run on silver, and I think it's going to start running like how gold has done very recently. And I think it's going to be very soon that silver starts to do that, especially as it gets above its old all-time high, just like how gold did right over here. This all-time high right here, once it got above that level, you can see it was just the sky is the limit for gold, right? And I think the same thing will happen over here with silver once we get above our old all-time high. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Then we will get a very parabolic run on silver. A very profitable parabolic run for silver, just like what happened on gold. And I think $100 per ounce could happen like within the next couple years pretty easily. So that's pretty nice gains in the world of commodities, you know. Good morning, Dallin. Been too busy at work lately. Haven't been able to watch your videos. Glad to see BCH doing good again. I'm super bullish on Crow. I'm confident they will reach XRP prices. Yeah, so let's pull up Crow. Do a little analysis on Crow for you after I take a sip out of my drink here. Take it off the log chart. Switch to the regular chart. I think there's a place where I can get more data. Let's see if that is Binance Coin or Binance.com. Or it might be, yeah, here it is. It's on KuCoin. So it looks like I already have a Wall Street cheat sheet pulled up here on on KuCoin. So that's nice. So yeah, the Wall Street cheat sheet, as you guys know, is an example of a lot of what I've been talking about in today's stream with the human emotion and the market cycle that we see every time that these crypto markets pump and pull back. And you can see that Chronos here is actually a perfect spitting image of what a market cycle looks like, right? So we have a parabolic run. We have a huge correction, and it went all the way down to the depression phase of its cycle down here, like right here, depression. Then you get a little suckers rally. This is also known as the disbelief phase right here, because people are really in disbelief that a new cycle is going to start. So that's the average emotion of your average investor during that period right there, the disbelief phase. And then you start to break out of that disbelief phase, and it leads to a nice parabolic run all over again. So that's really a perfect example of what a market cycle looks like. And you can see the double bottom on this one isn't very big, right? We were looking at the NASDAQ, and we were looking at a couple examples. You can see there's clearly a double bottom forming right here, but it wasn't like if you compare it to the size of the full cycle, it's not as big as what can happen, where sometimes you get these big pronounced double bottoms. But that doesn't mean it's not going to pump hard, right? Ethereum barely had any double bottom in 2018, and it led to a very pronounced, very parabolic run, even though the double bottom wasn't very pronounced down there. So you can see here's Ethereum. And you can see the double bottom was not very pronounced. It wasn't nearly as pronounced as what Bitcoin was at that same point. And it led to a very parabolic run for Ethereum. So I think this could easily go up over $1 as it breaks its old all-time high, which is 10x from current price, about 10 times your investment, up to the old all-time high. Not quite, but pretty close to 10 times. And then who knows how high it goes after its old all-time high, but I definitely think we will get up towards $1 here on Chronos. And yeah, again, just to talk more about that double bottom thing, if we pull up Bitcoin over here on the left and keep Ethereum over here on the right and take a look at that structure in the market, we'll go 5-day. Right, so here's Bitcoin over here on the right, and here's Ethereum over here on the left. And the reason I want to show you this is because both Bitcoin and Ethereum pumped super hard. But Ethereum had very little of a double bottom, and Bitcoin had a very pronounced double bottom right there. Very pronounced. So those are some of the differences you can see cycle to cycle, or coin to coin. There's going to be subtle differences, like I was showing with Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu has more of a pronounced double bottom. Ethereum and Chronos don't have nearly as pronounced of a double bottom, but Ethereum pumped really hard, and I think Chronos will as well. Too cool. All right, we're 49 minutes in, so definitely send any requests that you have for analysis right now, because I'm only going to be streaming for another 10 minutes. So definitely drop your requests in the chat box and I'll run over your favorite coins, you guys. Thomas says, any chance we can hear Here Comes the Moon at the end of the stream? I totally would, except that I'm at my studio and my guitar is at my house. So I didn't bring it today. But next week, I'll bring my guitar and I'll play Here Comes the Moon, which is my remix of Here Comes the Sun for crypto investors, if you guys haven't heard it yet. And it's actually pretty fun to sing for you guys. So BeamX, please. Okay, we'll pull up BeamX. Alrighty, so this actually looks exactly like Dog with Hat. And that's not a bad thing, okay? Dog with Hat pumped really hard recently, so I'm not saying anything bad about this coin, but if you look at Dog with Hat, let's pull up WIF on where's gonna have the data. There we go. Remove drawings, switch to the daily. Switch to the 2-day actually, 3-day maybe even. Will even be a little bit better here. And how come it switched to a different chart on me? There we go. And then we'll keep BeamX over here and we'll switch to the 3-day for BeamX. Okay, so look at that. This is the same structure. We have BeamX over here on the left and we have Dog with Hat over here on the right. Now, if you look at these two charts, they look identical. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where crypto follows itself. Like a lot of the altcoin markets will follow each other and they'll make the same kind of patterns. But it also goes back to what I was saying about how human psychology repeats over and over again in the market. And so you get the same patterns as well because of the human psychology. Now, this is actually a very bullish structure that I have seen in a lot of different coins before, and I have seen very strong recoveries as a result of the same kind of pattern in different markets historically. So you can see it's basically an ABC correction. You have an ABC correction down on both of these charts, and what that leads to is a big parabolic run and a nice recovery. You can see there's volume starting to pick up down here. And we even have a double bottom structure forming in the market. We have our left bottom here and our right bottom right there. And if you guys aren't a member of the free Discord, make sure you click the link in the description box and join in the free Discord. And click under knowledge and links here. And by the way, beware of scammers. Unfortunately, people try to impersonate me in here. I'm never going to ask you guys for money. So if you get a direct message from somebody that looks like me and they're trying to convince you to go sign up for some website and deposit money there, or they're trying to get you to send them money, it's a scammer. Just ignore them. You can always double check Discord IDs. You can always look at my Discord ID and it will show you, exactly what my Discord ID is. I don't know how to see it right now. For some reason, it's not showing me. But yeah, you can check my Discord ID and you can double check to make sure. But I'm not just going to message you guys, right? Like I don't just come into Discord and just message people. So you have to make sure it's me. I'm not just going to message you. Anyways, beware of scammers. You guys get the point. But if you go to the knowledge and links section here in Discord, and then you click under top trading patterns, this is completely free. I have a Google document here, or a Google Drive here with a bunch of images and examples of trading patterns. And one of the images that I have in here is a list of different trading patterns and their probability. Now the double bottom has a 79% chance of playing out. If you see this pattern and if it breaks above the neckline, there's a 79% chance that you're going to see a reversal off of those lows. Now you can see that this is about to break above the double bottom. So if we zoom into BMEX over here and just take a look at BMEX, we're about to break out through the neckline of the double bottom. So here's our neckline right here. If we get above this level right here at 0.0094 cents per BMEX, that confirms our double bottom, and there's a 79% chance that we're going to see more upside off of those lows. So that's kind of what I see in the chart here. It looks really good. Down here, it looks like we will see a reversal off of these lows, and it looks a lot like dog with hat, which is a big ABC correction, which generally leads to a large recovery and a nice sustained uptrend as a result of that correction. So I do think we will see some nice moves here with BMEX. Oh man, now that I asked for everybody to request their coins, we have too many for me to do before I end the stream, to be honest with you. But I'll try to get a few of them in here real quick. Let's do FET. Pull up FET. All right. So this kind of goes back to what I've been teaching about market cycles and recoveries and kind of what market cycles can look like. Here's a little bit of a unique cycle. It looks a little bit different, but it's essentially the same as all the other ones we've talked about. There's going to be subtle differences in every market that you look at, right? They're not all going to look exactly the same, but they are going to have similar kind of attitudes to them and similar structure. So this is an ABC correction here, wave A, wave B, and wave C. And actually what this reminds me the most of is injective. So let's pull up injective over here, I and J, and we'll kind of compare these cycles together here. So we have injective on the right and we have FET over here on the left. And you can really see the same structure in the market. Only there's a lot of volume here. A lot of volume for FET. And there isn't as much volume over here on injective. But I will say volume is measured in terms of tokens traded. And the value of injective is $12. And the value of FET is 86 cents. So of course you're going to get more tokens, total tokens traded with FET over here because it's worth less. So it's easier. In terms of dollar amount, they're probably pretty similar in volume. But I wanted to show you these two charts mainly because the same market cycle is appearing on both of these charts, and I think the same type of recovery will happen as well, where we have an ABC correction on both of these charts, very nice ABC, and what I think is going to happen is a very nice recovery, a very nice kind of reversal up off these lows, where we start to see a nice recovery as a result of these ABC corrections and these complete market cycles. So this is no different than any other market cycle in terms of what's going to happen as a result of the cycle, but it is a little bit different in terms of structure, but it's still something we've commonly seen in crypto to have the same kind of pattern appear before. It looks, honestly, this is going to age me a little bit, but it looks like BitShares back in 2017 during the BitShares, the very first BitShares pump. I wonder if we can even find the chart. I hope we can, because I want to show you guys what BitShares looked like back in... Oh, we can. Cool. So this is what BitShares looked like back in 2017. And honestly, FET looks exactly like BitShares back in 2017. And BitShares pumped super hard after that. Like it went nuts right after that same pattern. So I think we could see a pretty nice recovery here on FET. and a very nice bull market coming along with the rest of crypto. Like I've been saying, we're going to see a big move in these markets, and most cryptos follow each other. So I think FET is going to see a very parabolic run and a very profitable move. And it does look exactly like BitShares back in 2017, which is hilarious. Oh man, these markets are so much fun to trade and to look at. Cool. We'll do one more and then I'm going to call it a day because I got a lot of stuff. What's your thoughts on log versus linear charts? Honestly, I mainly use linear charts, but I use log too, especially if I'm zooming out, like if I'm doing big picture Bitcoin analysis, like on the BLX chart. A lot of times I'll use the log chart for Bitcoin. If there's enough data, like if you can really zoom out on the chart, then I will use the logarithmic chart. If something's kind of new, then for me it's not as useful, because the main reason I use the log chart is to see how much growth something has done over the long term. Like here with Bitcoin, if you go to tradingview.com and you type in BLX, this is a special ticker on TradingView that will give you the whole picture, like all the way back on Bitcoin when Bitcoin was worth a penny. So way, way, way old, 2011, way, way far back, right? Super historical kind of data here with the BLX chart. So that's what I mainly use the log chart. I don't like to pin them against each other. I mainly use the linear chart for most of my analysis. But yeah, they're both useful for different things and different reasons, right? So, all right, let's do T-drop, and then we're going to call it a day. T-drop. Should we do it versus the Korean won? No, I'm just kidding. We won't do analysis on it versus the Korean won. We'll do it versus the dollar, okay? Unless one of you guys are Korean and really, really want me to do it on versus the South Korean won, then we will. But we'll do it versus the dollar. So let's pull up the 15-day candlesticks here. So I did analysis on this, I think, like not my last live stream because I streamed last Thursday, but I did it on my previous live stream before that, and really my view has not changed at all. So this is going to be kind of some of the same stuff if you saw my last live stream about this. But I'm looking for a double bottom, right? We have our left low right here. We have another low over here. And what I want to see is a breakout through resistance right here at 0.0049 cents or somewhere around there. And if we do get that breakout, then we're going to see a nice recovery up off of these lows. This is a pattern that I have seen a lot in the crypto markets. A lot of times a coin will come out, like it'll get released, like it'll become available on exchanges right when a bear market starts. And if that happens, then you just get this huge crash, right? Because the whole crypto markets are dropping. And that's what happened here with T-drop. T-drop got released or publicly traded here on Gate.io right when the bear market started in 2021 and 2022 for crypto. So all you see is this huge drop in price because crypto as a whole was dropping during that period. And now what we see, oops, wrong button there, is a bunch of volume, right? We have a lot of volume down here. So that shows interest. That shows that somebody's picking this up, that somebody's interested in T-drop, and that there's people that are accumulating it down here at 0.001 cents, right? 0.0018 per T-drop. So this is a pretty common thing to have happen in the crypto markets, especially if something gets added to publicly traded exchanges right as a bear market's starting. You'll see these huge drop-offs like that. So what you can kind of do here is you can look at other things that have done the same pattern. And actually, we're going to use the BLX chart here, and we're going to take it off the log go to the linear scale, and we're going to drop to the daily, and we're going to go all the way back to Bitcoin's very first cycle here. And really, what I think is going to happen here with T-drop is very similar to what happened to Bitcoin on its first cycle. So pretend that there wasn't this pump right here on Bitcoin. Just pretend that Bitcoin started as a bear market, right? Started during a bear market phase for crypto. If we were to compare these two charts together, it's a similar kind of structure now, right? So that's what I mean. If something gets added to an exchange during a bear market, it's going to look like just a big crash. It's just going to look like it's fallen off a cliff. But when it gets undervalued, and when it's very undervalued, and people are picking up a lot of it because of how cheap it is, then you'll get a bull market because people see it as being worth less than it should be worth. So they start buying a lot of it. And that's what you see here with T-drop. It's worth less than it should be worth. So it's undervalued. And I think we're going to see a nice recovery and a nice bull market, just like if we were to compare this early day cycle on Bitcoin to this current cycle on T-drop. And actually, this is what happened to ICP, right? For people that don't know about internet protocol, internet or ICP or whatever it's called, I forget what, Internet Computer Protocol, something like that. ICP really started getting publicly traded right at the beginning of a bear market starting. So all you see is this huge crash. And then you see a double bottom form, right? And we really haven't started to recover on this yet, but it's the same kind of thing. You have to understand that markets get they get added to exchanges and start being publicly traded, sometimes right at the beginning of a bear market. And if that happens, then you don't get this huge pump in the market. You just get this huge drop off and then an accumulation pattern. And then a lot of times you get a recovery and a bull market coming after. So that's my view on T-drop. I do think we will see a nice recovery. And I think it's going to do kind of like what Bitcoin did during its first cycle, where we get that double bottom, starts to build up momentum, and then you can really get a nice bull market for this coin. So that's my view on T-drop, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I have some stuff to do, so I can't do any more analysis for today. We already did a little bit analysis on Shiba Inu, Big Asian. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, and thank you for your question. Go watch my video. I made a video about Shiba Inu a couple days ago, like 3 or 4 days ago, maybe a week, something like that. And I've got a little bit of an idea of what I think it's going to do in that video. So go check that video out. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you guys in future live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.